A terrifying crash during the final lap of a NASCAR race sends cars airborne and debris flying into the stands. Plus, the South Carolina State Legislature begins debate today on whether to remove the Confederate flag.
The U.S. wins the 2015 Women's World Cup.
And the U.S. women's soccer team secures their first World Cup championship since 1999.
Heat and also some humidity that's continuing to develop across the area. We're going to talk more about that and what you can expect as we head throughout the rest of the upcoming work week. Full details as East Texas News Midday starts now.
Live in high definition, caring, committed, proud of East Texas. You're watching East Texas News at Midday.
Good morning and thank you for joining us for East Texas News Midday. We've got breaking news this midday. Walter Reed National Military Medical Center in Bethesda, Maryland is on lockdown after a single shot was reportedly fired at the hospital campus this morning. Hospital personnel were ordered to shelter in place, according to a tweet from the U.S. Navy. Responding units were not initially available to confirm the report of a shooter from a 911 call. Officials from the Department of Defense and the Montgomery County Police are on the scene. We turn now to an update. We've learned that none of the 4 people believed to have drowned in Houston County Lake were wearing life jackets. Today, game wardens found the 4th victim, a man in his 50s, just after 10 o'clock this morning. First responders tell us a family rented a canoe on Sunday afternoon near Grapeland and never returned. The bodies of a man, woman, and a young child were pulled from the lake overnight. Game wardens tell us it's unclear what caused the canoe to overturn. Later today, we could learn the names of those victims. Right now, game wardens are also investigating a possible drowning near Jacksonville. Officials tell us around 4:30 yesterday afternoon, a man was pulled from the water at Lake Acre, northwest of Jacksonville. Right now, the identity of the victim is not being released. Game wardens say they do not know at this time if the death was a drowning. Well, police have released the name of a Nacogdoches man killed in a 2-vehicle accident on Saturday. 32-year-old Felipe Medina Hernandez died at the scene in the 4200 block of Southeast Stallings Drive. That accident happened just before 8 a.m. According to the crash report, 43-year-old Candell Roberts Cloudy of Center was driving a van southbound on the road and crossed into the northbound lanes and hit Hernandez's truck head-on. Hernandez's sons, 7-year-old and a 9-year-old, were both injured in that wreck. Cloudy was also injured. Nacogdoches police say on Saturday morning, we're going to move on to the next story now. A terrifying crash at a NASCAR race is raising new questions about safety. One car went airborne during a chain reaction collision, sending debris flying into the crowd. Did safety precautions do enough? ABC's Kenneth Motion has more from Washington.
It was an incredible crash near turn 1. NASCAR driver Austin Dillon's number 3 Chevrolet was obliterated. The car went airborne, slamming into the fence of the Coke 0400 at Daytona International Speedway yesterday. The 200-mile-per-hour late-night crash sent debris flying into the stands, injuring spectators.
The catch fence was just gone. There's just a huge hole, and I've seen, cars hit it before, and I've never seen anything like that.
Dillon made it out alive.
It happened so quick, man. You're just holding on and praying you get through it, get the race again.
13 fans were evaluated, 1 taken to the hospital. The crash came seconds after Dale Earnhardt Jr. crossed the finish line to win the rain-delayed race.
That was real frightening. You're just on the verge of tears, to be honest with you.
The scene was particularly tough for Earnhardt, who lost his father, Earnhardt Sr., in a crash on this same track in 2001. The Speedway and NASCAR now plan to analyze this collision to enhance safety initiatives.
We're going to learn from it, see what else we can do to be better. I think that you saw some of the improvements work today.
Kenneth Moten, ABC News, Washington.
Speedway officials say they learned from previous crashes. There wasn't much left of that catch fence, but it did its job and stopped cars from leaving that track. Today, lawmakers in South Carolina are debating the future of the Confederate flag in the state. The flag flies over a Civil War memorial outside the State House in Columbia. The state's governor and both of its U.S. senators have said it should be taken down despite heavy opposition. Across the South, calls for change have grown in the aftermath of the race-motivated shootings that left 9 people dead in South Carolina. Fireworks on the soccer field. The U.S. women's soccer team made history last night in more ways than one. And today, the key player in the team's World Cup victory is talking. ABC's Marcy Gonzalez is in New York with more.
The U.S. wins the 2015 Women's World Cup.
A record-breaking win. The U.S. women's national team claiming its third World Cup victory yesterday and redemption after losing the title to Japan 4 years ago.
After the final whistle blew, it's like, finally we did it.
I mean, we just wrote history today and brought this World Cup trophy home.
The coveted cup coming home in jaw-dropping fashion. Within just the first 5 minutes of the game,
Quick shot, goal!
midfielder Carly Lloyd scoring 2 goals.
Another goal! Carly Lloyd again!
By minute 16, she does it again, earning the first hat trick ever in a Women's World Cup final with a 54-yard goal.
The energy and atmosphere was just unbelievable.
That energy from the stands in Vancouver to cities across the U.S.
She's a nationwide hero.
Unrelenting. With Abby Wambach subbing in during the second half.
Carly Lloyd has just given her the captain's armband.
And the last remaining member of the victorious 1999 team, 40-year-old Christy Rampone,
The oldest player to ever play in a Women's World Cup.
taking the field to help bring her team the title once again. The final score, 5-2. Marcy Gonzalez, ABC News, New York.
Well, Vice President Joe Biden was among the fans in the stands, and after the game, President Obama invited the team to the White House, tweeting, "What a win for Team USA." Well, let's check in now with meteorologist Cedric Haynes for a look at our Monday afternoon forecast. And Cedric, it's finally feeling like summer. Any relief in sight?
Well, I don't know about the word relief, but it is definitely feeling like summer. In fact, we're looking at just a few scattered clouds out there now, helping to hold temperatures into the upper 80s across the northern half of the area. But as we work throughout the afternoon, we'll see a few showers, spotty in nature, with temperatures climbing into the low to mid 90s across the area. The key phrase, it's going to be staying hot the next few days, and we're going to talk more about that here in just a moment. But first, let's take a look at a couple of great and plenary WeatherNet sites. As you can see, the 80s, widespread. Those will be replaced by 90s, and we'll talk more about that right after the break.
Storm Tracker 7 Weather is sponsored by Brian Loncar and Associates, your forecast for success.
Well, good Monday, East Texas. Outside, as you can see, we've got some clouds mixed in with a little blue sky showing up across the region. But notice, Old Glory, Old Faithful over there just hanging on out there. Nice little breeze. Look at that. Out of the southwest, around 18 miles per hour at this time. 85 degrees, but it's making it feel tolerable out there with that wind, even though it feels like it's in the lower 90s across the area. 82 in Athens, 85 Canton, we've got 85 in Henderson, 90 currently in Longview. Your overnight low in Longview was about 80 degrees, so it was very warm and toasty overnight. 88 Crockett and 90 degrees again in Lufkin. Now, when you factor in the humidity along with the heat out there, you get what it actually feels like on the exposed skin. Well, it feels like it's 93 degrees in Jacksonville. Feels like it's at the triple-digit mark in Longview. Feels like 98 in Nacogdoches, and 99 is the current feels like temperature in Lufkin. So these numbers will continue to, of course, go up as we move into the afternoon hours. It'll be a very warm and humid afternoon across the area. 92 degrees, that's going to be the feels like temperature outside about this time here. 93 in Tyler, but look what it's going to go to as we head towards the afternoon. During the peak heating of the day, it's going to feel closer to 100 to 103 out there across the area. So make sure you stay hydrated, especially after you spend long periods of time outside. And then heading into your Tuesday, more of the same. Our feels like temperature returns to the triple digits. So brace yourselves and stay hydrated. The heat and the humidity is here to stay for a while. On the visible satellite picture, of course, this is a camera in space looking down at us here on Earth and taking little snapshot pictures. And as you can see, we've got some of these clouds trying to stream in and bubble up, but overall the sunshine is burning through those clouds, and that's allowing for our temperatures to continue to warm as well. You can see that a little bit better on Storm Tracker Live Doppler radar, this area of cloudiness that continues to try to streak in, but underneath this, we're seeing some of that sunshine peeking through, and I think that will continue as we go throughout the day. A southeasterly flow at the surface here is continuing to pump in some warm and humid air across the area, but we don't have anything to squeeze any precipitation out. That's off to the north along this cool front here that's way over in New Mexico. It's going to get a little closer to us as we head into the upcoming day or two. but it's not going to give us a large rain chance, just a small one. And we're going to talk more about that now. A precision cast, some clouds with some sunshine peeking through, of course, throughout the afternoon. So we'll call it partly cloudy. We'll be in the lower 90s as we go throughout this afternoon. And then as we head into tonight, we'll see those skies clearing out, but more clouds streaming in as well for your Tuesday. So we'll start off mostly cloudy. And by the afternoon on Tuesday, as that front with those thunderstorms get a little closer to our north and west, we could see a few pop-up scattered showers ahead of that front streaking in here. Now, it's not going to be an all-day washout. Most of us will probably stay dry tomorrow, but a slightly better chance of seeing a few pop-up isolated scattered showers on your Tuesday afternoon. Then we focus on the bad news, or the good news, depending on if you like the very warm weather, because we're going to be watching a building heat ridge off to our east, and it's going to expand back to the west and southwest. And as it does so, high pressure will move overhead. That creates sinking air. Sinking air, of course, expands quickly, and it also heats up very quickly. So the AC will become a necessity out there as we see our heat index values, but our temperatures as well, getting quite warm. How warm, you ask? Well, take a look at the summer changes. Here we go. We're going to go from seeing those highs into the lower 90s to highs climbing into the mid 90s as we head towards the end of the work week with the heat index values climbing to close to 105. And it only gets warmer than that in the 7-day forecast. Check this out. We're talking about upper 90s. A few of us may make a run at approaching that 100-degree mark as we head towards the upcoming weekend. Overall, though, we're looking pretty bad out there. It's going to be hot and humid is the key word. Very low rain chances over the next couple of days, but really the big story will be the temperatures on the climb.
All right. Thanks so much, Cedric. We'll be right back. The original summer blockbuster was Jaws, but for 10 people in recent weeks, that Hollywood fantasy turned into a painful reality. Now some ways to keep you and your family safe this summer. With more, here's ABC's senior medical contributor, Dr. Timothy Johnson.
Sunscreen, a thermos of lemonade, and a few towels, ways to stay safe and comfortable at the beach. But this summer, add a few thoughts about shark safety to that list. Though rare, there have already been 10 shark attacks off the coast of the Carolinas in just the last 3 weeks. So if you're planning on heading to the shore this weekend, here are some ways to stay safe in the water. For most of us, a trip to the aquarium is the closest we'll get to a shark. But if you do spot one of those dangerous fins in the water, experts recommend 3 ways to avoid an attack. First, stay calm and still. Don't splash or scream. Turns out sharks can pick up on vibrations in the water, and it makes them more likely to bite. Second, tell those around you to go ashore. And third, move slowly and get yourself out of the water. If the worst occurs and a shark starts to attack, fight back. Experts actually recommend a good punch to its head. Once you're out of the water, that's the time to yell to get first aid. The best thing you can do for someone who gets bitten by a shark is to stop the bleeding. The good news is that shark attacks are still extremely rare, but somehow it feels better when you know what to do. With this Medical Minute, I'm Dr. Timothy Johnson.
G.W. Boyd helped win World War II in the Seabees in the South Pacific. I'm Joan Hallmark, and Freedom Fighters is coming up.
Too often we forget the many sacrifices our military men and women and their families make during wartime, whether in our war for independence or in the wars that followed. G.H. Boyd not only faced danger overseas in World War II, he didn't see his son Gary until the boy was 18 months old. Joan Hallmark brings us Boyd's story in today's Freedom Fighters.
We were to the Navy and Marines, while the Army engineers were to the Army.
G.W. Boyd became a Navy Seabee in May of 1942. At the time, the Seabees were a relatively new addition to the Navy, and since Boyd was a builder, it seemed a natural fit. What didn't seem natural was leaving his wife, who was expecting their first child when he was sent overseas. But it was wartime, and America was at risk. Boyd's first assignment was in New Caledonia, where his crew built 2 fighter strips and 2 hospitals.
We built ammunition dumps, and they were hauling them out as big bombs before we were prepared to take them.
Because they didn't have detonators, the 800 tons of bombs were rolled into a valley and piled on top of one another.
A saboteur had put some detonators in some of those bombs, and they all went up at one time, one night about 8 o'clock, just about the time we'd gone to bed.
The next morning, Boyd and his men were sent to the ammunition site to look for the 16 Marines who had been guarding the dump. there was little to find.
We found one shoe with a foot in it, one helmet with part of a skull in it, and just bits and pieces of their bodies. And that was my real first experience at the war.
But there would be other war experiences as Boyd was sent to Guadalcanal, Udunga, Green Island, Okinawa, and New Georgia.
They shelled us for 28 days straight, on the hour, every hour, day and night.
Boyd bulldozed a 12 by 20 foot pit, covered it with 2 layers of coconut logs, and put tents on top.
We just dive down under those coconut logs.
Early in 1945, Boyd was given a short furlough to see his family before preparing for the invasion of Japan.
When you came home, you saw your son for the first time.
Yes, I did.
Boyd's son Gary was 18 months old. Separation from loved ones is one of many sacrifices endured by G.W. Boyd and others who fight for our freedom. Joan Hallmark, East Texas News, Midday.
If you or someone you know served our country in combat, we'd love to hear from you. Just send your information to Freedom Fighters 105 West Ferguson, Tyler, Texas 75702. When we come back, we'll have another look at your Monday forecast. Plus, we'll tell you who took the top spots at the box office this past weekend. That and much more next in our Showbiz Wrap. Now for the latest on what's happening in Hollywood, here's Jason Nathanson with the Showbiz Wrap.
The Piano Man is a married man. Again, Billy Joel surprised guests at his annual 4th of July party by tying the knot with girlfriend Alexis Roderick. New York's Governor Andrew Cuomo performed the ceremony, and Joel's ex-wife Christy Brinkley was among the guests. It's the 4th trip down the aisle for the 66-year-old singer. He and his 34-year-old bride are expecting their first child.
As you know, I'm all about that bass.
A health scare this weekend for Meghan Trainor. The 21-year-old pop star had to pull out of 2 concerts because of a hemorrhage on her vocal cords. Trainor tweeted that her doctors want her on complete vocal rest until they're healed. She said it's the first time she's ever missed a live show, and she apologized to holiday ticket holders. Dustin Diamond got to spend Independence Day a free man. The former Saved by the Bell star was saved from a cell when a judge postponed his prison sentence. Diamond, who played Screech on the 1990 sitcom, is appealing his conviction in connection with a bar fight last year. The judge said he can stay out of jail in the meantime. And dinosaurs stayed on top of the holiday weekend box office as Jurassic World gobbled up an estimated $30.9 million. The animated feature Inside Out pulled up to a close second with an estimated $30.1 million. Terminator Genesis, yes, Arnold Schwarzenegger is back, opened in 3rd. And that's what's happening in Hollywood. I'm Jason Nathanson, ABC News, Los Angeles.
And you might want to check out a movie with those temperatures out there.
Yes, you know, air conditioner is our friend.
It is, especially today.
Yes, I'll tell you what, and then really as we go throughout the rest of the week, it's honestly going to get, well, let's see, hotter. I never remember. Is that a word?
More hot.
Yes, there you go. Sure, hotter.
Sweltering.
It's gonna be a scorching week. I'll tell you what. Let's take a look outside. You know, I'll tell you what. Hotter will be used, even if it's not a word, by the time we get towards the end of the week. Outside now, some clouds are kind of helping keep our temperatures. I never can remember that into the 80s so far, so it's not bad. We'll get into the 90s this afternoon, though, as we'll see a little bit more sunshine. But the heat ridge is going to build in from the east, retrograding back to the west, and that means high pressure. ACs will be a necessity as we head towards the end of the work week. In fact, take a look at the 7-day forecast. We go from the low 90s to the mid 90s, and this weekend, the upper 90s, and yes, a few folks will get close to the triple-digit mark for the first time this year.
And that's when you need to go find a pool.
Yes,
they're really cool.
Submerged in there.
Well, thank you for joining us for East Texas News Midday. We hope that you have a great rest of your afternoon.
Let the news follow you. From exclusive web content to text and email alerts, get your news wherever you are.
NBC came to the swift decision to dump Trump. Well, the network, which owns Univision, has decided enough is enough, and Donald Trump must go, at least from their network. Trump is a Republican candidate for president in 2016, but has been both criticized and ignored for the words and accusations he spewed when announcing his candidacy for president. Now, no doubt, Mr. Trump is a shrewd businessman, and he may even have some reasonable ideas for growing our economy and strengthening the U.S. domestically. But the way he assaulted and insulted immigrants and really just rambled on why he should be president shows that America is not ready for Donald Trump, the candidate. Trump must come up with a constructive approach in defining what is meaningful about his campaign. Ultimately, what makes him unique among the more than a dozen candidates. It's fine for Mr. Trump to be firm and convicted, but America still has to participate in the world village, and Trump's words isolate more than unite. Perhaps he can repackage his stump speech and recover some popularity because his experience in the business world is impressive. But I fear that his ego will doom him to mediocrity in the polls, and he will fade away like a rejected apprentice. Any candidate for president must learn that you can act and talk tough, but you must also be able to build bridges, something Donald Trump has not mastered yet. The crowded field of Republicans will start shrinking if Mr. Trump refuses to communicate some diplomacy.